Storytime. I'm Miss Linda and I work at the Goochland branch of the Pamunkey Regional Library. Today we're going to be talking about owls, but let's start off with our hello song. It's the more we get together and the more we read together. You ready? The more we get together, together, the more we get together, the happier we'll be. For your friends are my friends and my friends are your friends. The more we get together, the happier we'll be. The more we read together, together, the more we read together, the happier we'll be. Read big books and small books and short books and tall books. The more we read together, the happier we'll be. Good job. So let's talk about owls. What are our facts? What do you know about owls? So first of all, owls make kind of a hoot sound, and they can turn their heads almost all the way around to see behind them. And owls search for their prey at night. They're nocturnal, meaning they do most of their sleeping during the day, and they're active at night. And they use their claws to help them find their prey. And what else about owls? Let's see. We have a rhyme here, and it's called a wide-eyed owl. There's a wide-eyed owl with a pointy nose and two pointy ears and claws for toes. He lives up high in the tree, and when he looks at you, he flaps his wings and says, hoot, hoot. So today our story is about an owl who lost her hoot. It's OOla, the owl who lost her hoot. We'll see how OOla finds her hoot. OOla the owl who lost her hoot. Written by Tim Bugbird, illustrated by Claire Fennell, published by Make Believe Ideas. OOla was tired after playing all night. Hoot, hoot, it's bedtime, she cried, as she flew through the trees back to her nest. It was nearly dawn and the forest was waking up, but OOla could only think about her cozy bed. Safely home, OOla smiled as Mommy Owl gently tucked her under a mossy blanket. Sleep tight, little one, said Mommy Owl. Love you, Mom, said OOla in a tired little voice. Hoot, hoot, OOla frowned. Try as she might, she could not hoot. Don't worry, said Mommy Owl. You've been flying and calling so much you've lost your hoot. Now get some rest. You've tired yourself out. OOla was too worried to sleep. How can I have lost my hoot? She wondered. I know it must have been while I was playing. I'll fly back and find it. OOla waited until Mommy Owl wasn't looking. Then she flew silently into the forest. Wow, this is amazing, thought OOla. She had never flown in daylight before, and everything looked bright and exciting. The sun filled the sky with smudges of yellow and gold, and the trees were 100 shades of green. Below her, beautiful flowers covered the ground like a patchwork quilt, as OOla swooped down to take a closer look. She saw a tiny brown mouse. I've lost my hoot, whispered OOla. Have you found it? Squeak, 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 said the mouse. OOla took a deep breath. Ah-week, ah-week. No, that's not my hoot, she thought. The mouse giggled and scampered into the bushes. OOla flew on towards the pond. Maybe her hoot was there. At the water's edge, OOla saw a speckled frog sitting on a giant lily pad. I've lost my hoot, whispered OOla. Have you found it? The frog looked at OOla, puffed himself up, and croaked, "Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit." OOla was so startled she nearly jumped out of her feathers. "Oh my," thought OOla. She opened her beak as wide as she could. "Hibbit, hibbit," she croaked. "No, that's not my Hoot," said OOla, her voice so quiet that the frog could barely hear her. OOla carried on through the forest until she saw a long-legged grasshopper jumping in the grass. "I've lost my Hoot," whispered OOla. "Have you found it?" The grasshopper looked at OOla and bounced so high he nearly poked her in the eye. "Chirp, chirp, chirp," he said. OOla, she determined not to give up. She opened her beak and erp, erp, erp. "No, that's not my Hoot either," she thought. OOla was very tired, but she had to find her Hoot. The mouse didn't have it, the frog didn't have it, and the grasshopper certainly didn't have it. "I know, I'll look by the stream," thought OOla. When she reached the stream, OOla saw a yellow duck taking a bath in the water. The duck said hello with a loud quack, quack, quack. Poor OOla didn't need to ask. "That's definitely not my Hoot," she sighed. At that moment, OOla heard a gentle hooting sound. "That's mine," she thought, "but where is it?" The duck quacked again, only this time even louder, and waved his wing toward the tallest tree in the forest. OOla set off. As she flew, the hoot grew louder and louder. Sitting alone at the very top of the tallest tree, she found, what? A big brown owl. "Hoot, hoot," said the owl. It was the loudest, hootiest hoot OOla had ever heard. "This must be mine," she thought. She opened her beak. Nothing. OOla started to cry. The big brown owl thought for a moment. "Have you lost your Hoot, little owl?" he asked. OOla nodded. "Well, don't cry. You can share mine. Try hooting with me." The big brown owl coughed, took a deep breath, and hooted at the top of his voice. OOla coughed, took a deep breath, and still nothing. "Try again," said the big brown owl. So OOla coughed, took a big deep breath, and hoot, hoot, hoot. She gasped. "I found it. Thank you, brown owl." OOla couldn't wait to get back to the nest and tell Mommy Owl she had found her Hoot. She flew through the forest, hooting as she swept past the trees and the stream and the pond until she finally was home. Mommy Owl was waiting inside the nest. "Where have you been, OOla?" she asked. "I've been so worried about you." "I went searching for my Hoot and I found it," said OOla proudly. Mommy Owl laughed and gave OOla a big owl hug. "Thank goodness you're home," she said. "I've been calling you all day and I've nearly lost my Hoot." "Don't worry, Mom," said OOla with a loud hoot hoot. "You can always share mine." The end. So OOla was a little different. So she flew around during the day, which she would normally sleep, and she was in search of her Hoot. So she had to ask all the little creatures she found what happened to her Hoot, until finally she found a little brown owl that helped her find her Hoot and she could get back home. And now I have a song for you, and this is a very silly song about owls, and it's called Hoot, Hoot Went the Little Brown Owl. Ready? Hoot, hoot went the little brown owl one day. Hoot, hoot went the little brown owl. Hoot, hoot went the little brown owl one day, and they all went hoot, hoot, hoot. But we know owls story is about an owl and a wolf that the other animals think they ask the wrong questions. But they get lost together and eventually they find their way home. So let's see what happens. The Owl Who Asks Why. Written by Michelle Anderson. Illustrated by Aisha Rubio. Published by Page Street Kids. Late at night, when all was quiet, Little Owl asked, "Why don't all animals stay awake at night?" "Owls don't ask why," said Mama Owl. "Why?" "Owls ask who," said Mama Owl. "Why?" "It's just who we are," said Mama Owl. "Why?" Little Owl continued asking, "Why is a group of owls called a parliament? Why can't all birds turn their heads like this? Why do we regurgitate after eating?" The other owls laughed when they heard Little Owl. Who ever heard of an owl asking why? Meanwhile, deep in the woods near the aspen tree grove, Little Wolf asked, "When will I be able to explore on my own?" "Wolves don't ask when," said Papa Wolf. "Since when?" "Wolves ask how," said Papa Wolf. "Not when. It's just how it's done," said Papa Wolf. "When can I ask when?" Little Wolf continued asking, "When will I no longer be a pup? When is it my turn to be the alpha? When do I get to mark my territory?" The other wolves laughed when they heard Little Wolf. "How embarrassing," a wolf asked. "When?" Little Owl overheard their taunting. They're making fun of him. "Why are you laughing?" she asked the pack. The wolves howled even harder. "Little Owl," said Little Wolf, fled to their favorite tree. Little Owl and Little Wolf fled to their favorite tree. "Why do they always tease me?" Little Wolf asked. "I don't know." "When will they understand us?" Little Wolf muttered. With the moon so high in the deep dark sky, the nighttime melody began. Well, there are other little animals making their noises. Possum approached Little Owl and said, "Pardon me, Little Owl, but what's that you say?" "Why, I just want to know what you said." "Why?" explained Little Owl. "Well, I beg your pardon," replied Possum. He stomped away, stewing. Skunk stepped toward Little Wolf and said, "Little Wolf, what did I hear you say?" "When?" "Just now." "When?" explained Little Wolf. "Oh, forget it," said Skunk, and he strode away. "They'll never understand us," said Little Wolf. "Why do we put up with it?" asked Little Owl. "I wish we could find a place to ask whatever we want. Why didn't I think of that? Let's go." "Really?" Little Wolf asked. "When?" "Now. Follow me." Little Owl flew deep into the forest. She glided over gullies. She soared across the sky. Beneath her, Little Wolf bounded over boulders, that's big rocks. He sprang across the stream, and he climbed the steepest cliff. Little Owl and Little Wolf traveled all night, calling out whatever they wanted. But when the sun rose, they paused. Nothing looked familiar in the daylight. "I'm tired, and I want to go home," said Little Owl. "I miss my pack." "And I'm a tiny bit scared," admitted Little Wolf. His pack was his other wolves. The two friends were lost. "None of this would have happened if we asked the same questions as everybody else," said Little Wolf. Little Owl sighed, then called, Whoo! Little Wolf joined in. Howl! They hooted and howled as loud as they could, but they were too far from home to be heard. We'll never get home, cried Little Wolf. We can't give up, said Little Owl. Why don't we retrace our steps? Who got here first? So they're going to go back and figure out where they came from. It took me forever to climb that cliff, Little Wolf shouted. I see paw prints. When were they made? They're fresh, she said. They're mine. Where do they lead? Asked Little Wolf. They followed the tracks to the stream. Why do they disappear? She wondered. Because I crossed over the water, said Little Wolf. What now? Look, the boulders, called Little Owl. We're almost home. How can you be sure? Because I see our forest. Then Little Owl and Little Wolf heard something familiar. Who has seen Little Owl? Who can tell me where she went? How far did Little Wolf go? How will we find him? A hoot and a howl, said Little Owl. Where? Asked Little Wolf. Follow me. We were worried about you, said Papa Wolf. How come you didn't come home? We were lost. Who showed you the way home? Asked Mama Owl. We asked our own questions and found our way home. Mama Owl and Papa Wolf considered this. Then Papa Wolf asked, when did you become so brave? And Mama Owl said, why don't you tell us all about your adventure? Who, what, why? Now, when the moon rises high in the deep dark sky, a new nighttime melody begins. Why, how, where, when? The end. I hope you enjoyed that story and you learned a little bit about owls and maybe wolves. So I'm going to show you how to make your own owl, a really quick way to make it. Now we're going to start out with the letter O for owls, and he already has his claws, but then we're going to take circles and make his eyes, and a triangle for his beak, and two bigger triangles for his ears, and then we have to have wings. So I'll have two wings, and you'll have your owl. That's all we have today, and it's time for our goodbye song. And our song is, it is time to say goodbye to all my friends. You ready? It is time to say goodbye to all my friends. It is time to say goodbye to all my friends. It is time to say goodbye, so give a smile, a wink, and eye. It is time to say goodbye to all my friends. Thank you for joining us here at Storytime, and I hope to see you back next time. Bye-bye.